All right. Shalom, family. It's your brother Kanaiba coming at you once again with this video titled The Pornography Problem, the Taboo Topic. Okay. So what really inspired me to do this video, of course, again, was a post from End Time Headline. And apparently there was this radio show host, and I believe he's a counterfeit, a 1948er. You all know what I mean when I say that. And he was on a panel, and one of the people that was a part of the panel was Jordan Peterson. And the topic of pornography came up. Okay. So the talk show host, which of course is a 1948er, he subscribes to Judaism. He pretty much gives his perspective about pornography, whether it's right or wrong and things like that. So I said to myself, this would be the perfect opportunity to actually, touch on this particular topic. Okay. And there's a reason why I titled this video the way that I did. Okay. The pornography problem and the taboo topic, because this topic really is taboo. This is a topic that I feel is not talked about enough. Okay. Even, really, especially within this walk as being Hebrew Israelites. In the Hebrew Israelite community, I feel like this topic is not touched on enough. Okay. Because, quiet as a kept. I believe there's a lot of brothers and sisters, believe it or not, who are suffering in silence, okay, because of this particular topic. This is something that they're, battling, behind closed doors, okay? So this is something that needs to be talked about, much more, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my best to actually, talk about this topic and, give my perspective from a biblical vantage point and also from a scientific vantage point as well. Okay, we'll get into that a little later on. Okay, so without further ado, let's actually get into the video. Okay, so opening up, this is the title of the article from End Time Headline. Okay. And it reads, it says, conservative author and talk radio host justifies pornography, saying men want variety. Now, at the end of that statement, men want variety. Yes, that's a true statement, but it's not an excuse to watch pornography. Okay, let's make that clear. Okay. But anyway, what I want to do, I want to go straight to the video where they were actually talking on this topic. Okay. I'm not going to get into the whole article because most of what's said in the article, they actually say in the video. Okay. So we're going to go straight to the video, and then I'm going to go to the end of the article and read it because, what's in the end of the article actually wasn't spoken in the video, if that makes sense. Okay. So let's actually get to the video. All right.
I'm less interested in the interior person, morally speaking, than you are, and probably any of you are. And it's largely, I do believe, because I come from a behaviorist, law-based religion. We care how you act. That's why we don't have a claim that if you look at another woman with lust, it's as if you've committed adultery with her. I am, as I said yesterday, I thank God for America's Christians. And Maimonides said if it weren't for Christians, the world wouldn't know about the Torah.
Well, sir, that's not true. Okay, the Christians, the colloquial Christians, they don't teach Torah. They actually teach against it. Okay, their main point that they try to drive in is that, the laws that was given to Moses to give to the children of Israel, those laws are done away with. Okay, that's the message of of so-called Christianity today. Okay, so they're not teaching Torah. They're actually teaching the opposite. All right. But anyway, let's get back to it.
So I'm a big Christian fan, but obviously Christianity and Judaism are not identical religions.
They are two different branches on the same tree of paganism, aka the mystery school systems of ancient Babylon and ancient Kemet. Okay, two different branches, same tree. All right.
And we have no equivalent that if you look upon another woman with lust, it's as if you have committed adultery with your heart.
So what the 1948er is referring to, he's referring to the statement that Yahushua made in the book of Matthew about, if you so much as, look upon a woman with lust, you've already committed adultery with her in your heart. Okay. But what you have to understand is there's a context behind what he said. Okay. Because what he's implying right here is that the statement that Yahushua made does not line up with Torah. And actually it does. But there's an underlining message that Yahushua was giving. And that's what we're going to touch on real quick. Okay. Because he's trying to make this notion that, what Yahushua said is not Torah based. Okay. So let's deal with that real quick. And then we'll get back to the video. Okay. All right. So going to the book of Matthew. This is chapter 5 and verse 28. And it reads, it says, "But I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart." Now, this verse, there's a few verses I say this about, but this is one of the verses in the Bible that ranks right up there with John 3:16. Okay, as in verses that are taken out of context. Okay. It's definitely taken out of context with these colloquial Christians. And sadly, this verse is taken out of context by some Hebrew Israelites. Okay. So is it quote unquote a sin to, desire? Because that's all the word lust really means. It means desire, to desire a woman, just to look upon a woman and desire her. Is that a sin? No. Okay. Look at what Yahushua said. He said you have committed adultery in your heart. Okay. What we have to do is we have to get the definition of the word adultery biblically defined to understand what he means. Okay. Because you cannot commit adultery with a woman that's not married. That's illogical. Okay. But like I said, there's an underlining message that he's giving here. But first, let's deal with what adultery really is. Okay. Let's get to that. Now, of course, this gentleman is a 1948er. So, I just felt it would behoove me to go to the quote unquote Jewish encyclopedia. Okay, and let's actually look up this word adultery. Okay, makes sense. Now, this is an article from the JewishEncyclopedia.com, and it reads, okay, it's by David Warner Amram, and it says women rights enforced, and it says sexual intercourse of a married woman with any man other than her husband. Keep that in mind. That's what's adultery for a woman, is to sleep with any man other than her husband. Okay. It says the crime can be committed only by and with a married woman. Allow me to repeat that part. The crime can be committed only by and with a married woman. Okay. But let's continue. It says, for the unlawful intercourse of a married man with an unmarried woman is not technically adultery in the Jewish law under the biblical law. So, in other words, for a married man, or any man for that matter, on the flip side, to deal with an unmarried woman, that's not adultery. Okay, that's clear. That's why I said it would be illogical for anybody to think that, desiring, just looking upon a woman and desiring her is automatically adultery. Okay, there has to be parameters. Is this woman married or not? Okay, that's the parameter. But now we need to get into what the real message was that Yahushua was talking about. Okay, because again, the only way you could commit adultery with a woman is if she is married. Okay, and I'm really harping in on this because this is a verse that I see is taken out of context a lot. Okay, and again, this 1948er is trying to paint a narrative that Yahushua is saying something completely different from what Torah says, and he's not. Okay, so let's go back to that particular verse. Okay, so going back to the verse, and it reads, it says, but I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. Okay, so again, we can't just go off of our feelings, to define what adultery is. Okay, adultery again is when a woman or a married woman sleeps with a man other than her husband, or when a man deals with a woman that's already married or betrothed. Okay, meaning engaged. Okay, because technically she's already promised to that man. Okay, so that's the instance of adultery for a man, whether he's married or not. Okay, so now, what is the underlying message that Yahushua is giving here? Okay, it's no different from what he was teaching his disciples in Mark the 7th chapter, that sin starts as a thought. Okay, it starts as a thought, then it can actually grow into the actual action, and that's when the sin is actually committed. Okay, let's actually go there. Let's go to Mark chapter 7 and let's further expound on this message that he's giving. Okay, so moving forward, this is Mark chapter 7 and verse 20, and it reads, it says, and he said, that which cometh out of the man, that defileth the man. Okay, let's look at the next verse. This is verse 21, and it reads, for from within, out of the heart of men, keep that in mind, proceeded evil thoughts. Watch this. Adulteries, fornications, murders. Now let's pause here. Okay. Yahushua said in Matthew chapter 5 and verse 28, if you look upon a woman to lust after her, you have already committed adultery with her in your heart, meaning your mind. Okay, now look at what he said here. From within, out of the heart of men. It's the same message. That's the message he was given in Matthew chapter 5. Okay, that sin starts as a thought. Okay, so don't even look at a married woman and lust after her, because soon it could lead you to actually commit the act. That's the point. Okay, it says, for from within, out of the heart of men, out of their mind, you think about it first, proceeded evil thoughts. There you have it. That's the point. Evil thoughts, adulteries. That was the point. fornications, which adultery falls under the umbrella of fornication. Okay, and murders, so forth and so on. But that was the point. Okay, so Yahushua wasn't saying something that was contradictory to Torah. Okay, he was actually further expounding on it. Okay, he actually went another level. He went deeper with it. Okay, don't even think upon that sin. Okay, because it could lead you to actually commit the sin. Don't even think about another man's wife. What are you doing that for to begin with? That's the point. Okay, let's move forward to the book of James, then we'll get back to the video. Okay, so this is the book of James, chapter 1 and verse 14. And it reads, "But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed." Now, how is one drawn away of their own lust? It starts as a thought. Okay, James is pretty much, he's further expounding on what his brother Yahushua already spoke about in Mark chapter 7. Okay, and that's the message that Yahushua was given in Matthew chapter 5 and 28. Okay, this particular sin, it starts as a thought, or sin in general, it starts as a thought. Okay, and you think upon it, then you get enticed by it. Okay, let's look at the next verse. This is verse 15, and it reads, it says, "Then when lust hath conceived," meaning you thought about it and you got enticed by it. That was the conception. It was started as that thought. Okay, it says, "It bringeth forth sin," meaning you gave birth to it then. You actually acted upon that thought. Okay, that's what that's talking about. That's the message Yahushua was giving. Okay, then it goes on to say, "And sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death." That's what sin gives birth to. It gives birth to death. Okay, scriptures tell you that the wages of sin is death, but the fruit of the Spirit is what? Life eternal. Okay, but again, that's the message Yahushua was giving. You know, it did not contradict Torah. It lined up perfectly with Torah. Okay, but anyway, let's get back to the video. All right.
There's only one way to commit adultery in Judaism, and it's with a different organ. And I'm not being cute. I'm being very realistic. Looking with lust is not a sin in Judaism.
Well, again, simply desiring a woman in general is not a sin. Okay. Again, there has to be a parameter. Is this woman married? Now you're getting off into sin, because this woman is already spoken for. Okay, you should not be lusting after a married woman. She's already spoken for. Okay, and if you continue to lust after that woman, it could lead you to try and act upon that particular thought. Could lead to adultery. That's the point, sir. Okay, but him saying that the only way to commit adultery is with different organs, roughly paraphrasing what he said. So I'm guessing he means when male and female organs come together. Okay, physically come together. Okay, he's trying to get away from the thought of thinking upon it. Okay, that's what he's opposed to. But again, you have to think about it before you actually do it. That's the point. Okay, but anyway, let's continue.
What's the stance on pornography?
So pornography, when I'm asked this question...
Just to put you on the spot.
You did indeed. Okay, so my answer, when it's raised on my radio show, I have a male-female hour, and I'm very open about sexual subjects. I always ask, if a wife calls me and says, my husband looks at pornography, I found on his computer, I have one question. How is your life of intimacy with your husband? Is it good? In other words, is the pornography in lieu of you or in addition to you? And I know this is not a religious answer, and I'm not even giving a religious answer. I'm giving what I think is a moral and realistic answer. Men want variety. And if adultery is a substitute for, if pornography is a substitute for one's wife, it's awful. If it's a substitute for adultery, it's not awful. That is my unpredictable answer.
There is a clinical rule of thumb that's akin to that, I would say. If you're trying to decide clinically whether someone's partaking in a habit, say use of alcohol, has reached the threshold of clinical significance, one of the things you do is ask the person you're assessing, is it interfering with your employment? Has it got you in trouble with the law? Is your family complaining? Does it stop you from doing other things that you should be doing? And so the judgment isn't the use of the forbidden substance itself. It is in some sense consequentialist. And I'm not saying that that's an absolute, but it is a hallmark of clinical judgment.
Not to get off topic, but did y'all see Jordan Peterson's suit? I mean, the suit was two-toned. It was blue on one side, and on the other side, it was this like reddish burgundy type of color. Could he be trying to promote Luciferian principles, the coming together of opposites, fire and ice? Who knows? But it wouldn't surprise me one bit if Jordan Peterson is in the craft. But but anyway, we got the 1948er's answer as to, his position on pornography. Okay, and he pretty much was saying that, if it's a substitute for a person's wife, then, it's horrible. But if they're using pornography to avoid adultery, I'm guessing he's saying to avoid going out and getting another woman or whatever, what their view is of adultery, then, the pornography is okay. That's what he's saying. Okay. But here's the problem. The pornography in and of itself is fornication. Okay. And we're going to get into that in a minute. Okay. But let's actually go to the end of this particular article and let's see how it wraps up. Okay. All right, so going to the end of this article from End Time Headlines, it reads, it says Prager's shallow defense of pornography also says nothing of the damage its consumption causes. It says both to the one watching it and to his or her partner. And, for the most part, I agree with that. Okay. It says it breeds self-esteem issues, jealousy, distrust, and unrealistic expectations in both partners, all of which rings true for the most part, right? It says it often leads consumers to fantasize about and even act out in ways that objectify and harm their partners. Next paragraph, it says, much like an addictive drug. Now, that's very crucial right there. And we're going to touch on that because remember I said we're going to look at this from a scientific vantage point as well. Okay, because a lot of people don't realize pornography is just as addictive, if not more, than illegal drugs. Okay, but we're going to get into that a little later on. It goes on to say pornography requires consistent escalation to reach the same degree of satisfaction. True. It says the epidemic of pornography consumption has revealed sexual preferences can be acquired and often become increasingly extreme, more taboo, and more violent over time. Okie dokie. So that was the end of this particular article. Okay. And, for the most part, I agree with most of it, but again, I addressed the parts that I already addressed the parts that I disagreed with. Okay. But now what I want to do is, I want to get a little deeper into this particular topic. Okay. what I want to do, I want to deal with this word fornication. Okay, because you see the word fornication throughout the Bible. Okay, especially in the New Testament, right? Now, of course, we know the so-called New Testament. It was originally written in Greek. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to actually look at that word fornication in the Greek, and I want to see what that Greek word is for the word fornication. Okay, so let's actually go to the blue letter and let's check that out. Okay, so this is Galatians chapter 5 and verse 19. We're all pretty much familiar with this verse, right? And it reads, it says, now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these. It says adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness. And of course it goes on. But what I want to focus on is that word fornication. Okay. And we're going to look at the concordance number here, and we're going to click on it. Okay. Right next to fornication, which is G4202. Okay. So let's click on that and let's see what the Greek word for fornication actually is. Okay. So let's take a look. Okay, so now we've clicked on the concordance number. And of course, this is Strong's G4202. And would you look at that? This is the Greek word for fornication. And it's the Greek word porneia. That sounds familiar. Okay. The way you say fornication in Greek, you say it's pronounced porneia. Okay. This is actually where you get the English word pornography from. Okay, so this alone should let you know that pornography is indeed fornication. Okay. Now, to further expound on that, okay, when you're dealing with pornography has different genres and subgenres, okay? And most of those genres goes completely against Torah. When you look at Leviticus chapter 18 and Leviticus chapter 20, where it talks about sexual sin, those genres in pornography, they completely go against what Torah teaches about, sexual sin. Okay, a lot of those genres, it consists of adultery. It consists of incest, bestiality, lesbianism, homosexuality, those are some of the top genres of pornography, and those things are prohibited according to Torah. Pornography is indeed fornication. Okay, it's really no way around it. Okay, but again, this pornography or this fornication demon, like I said in the beginning of this video, is something that, a lot of brothers and sisters, they suffer with in silence. Okay, and like Yahushua said, there are certain demons, that cannot be warded off except by much fasting and prayer. Okay, so that, for a lot of people, that would be the way to go to get that, that pornography demon off of you. Much fasting and prayer. Because like I said, a lot of people don't understand, and we're going to get into it later on in the video, how pornography is just as addictive, if not more, than, a lot of drugs. Okay? But we'll get into that later on in the video. All right? So moving forward, I want to deal with this particular sign. Okay? Now, this is the pretty much the sign that that is exclusive to, adult films, pornography. Okay. It's the XXX or the triple X sign. Okay. Whenever you see those three X's, you automatically think about, pornography, right? But is there a more deeper and underlining message to this particular sign or symbol? Okay, let's actually get into a bit of numerology with this. Okay, let's go to the gematria calculator and let's look at something real quick. All right. So going to the gematria calculator, what I did, I just simply typed in the letter X, right? Now the letter X has a numerical value of 24. Now why is that? Of course, it's the 24th letter in the English alphabet, right? Now I want you to look at the reduction. The reduction says 6. Now where did that come from? Okay. Now the letter X represents the number 24. Now when you break it down to its simplest form, you have 24. 2 plus 4 equals what? 6. Okay, that's the reduction. When you take a double digit or a triple digit number or whatever, and you break it down to its simplest form to a single digit. Okay, that's the reduction. So X, when you break it down to its simplest form to a single digit, it represents the number 6. Okay, 2 plus 4 is 6, right? Simple enough. So, in essence, if the number or the letter X, which has a numerical value of 24, also represents the number 6, when you see the sign XXX, that's also an allusion to 666. Now, that alone should be enough to let you know everything you need to know about pornography. Okay, that alone should be motivation for anybody to steer away from pornography. That symbol XXX is simply an allusion to 666. Okay. All right. So now that we've dealt with that, okay, let's actually deal with the more scientific part of this equation, dealing with pornography, okay, which leads us to a type of neurological chemical in the brain known as dopamine. Okay, now this is very, very important when dealing with pornography. Okay, because dopamine and pornography, they go hand in hand. Okay, and we're actually going to go to an article that actually speaks about dopamine, and you're going to understand what I'm talking about. Okay, we're about to get more into the scientific part of why pornography is bad for you. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into that. Okay. All right, so this is an article from healthdirect.gov. And of course, it's about dopamine. Okay, so the article starts off by saying, what is dopamine? Okay, and it reads, it says, what is dopamine? Dopamine is a chemical released in the brain that makes you feel good. Having the right amount of dopamine is important, both for your body and your brain. Okay, so you may have heard this before, but dopamine is known as the feel-good chemical. Okay, when you achieve some type of goal or do something that's satisfying, your brain releases a certain amount of dopamine, which is pretty much the reward center. It makes you feel good for certain accomplishments. Okay, that's the purpose that dopamine serves. Okay, next paragraph, and it reads, It says dopamine helps nerve cells to send messages to each other. It's produced by a group of nerve cells in the middle of the brain and sends out messages to other parts of the brain. Okay, so now let's scroll up a bit. And the article continues by saying, what is the role of dopamine? Okay, and it reads, it says dopamine is responsible for allowing you to feel pleasure, satisfaction, and motivation. Okay, all of those things are important, and this is the role that dopamine serves. Okay, it says when you feel good that you have achieved something, it's because you have a surge of dopamine in the brain. It's possible, however, that you start craving more of this dopamine reward, which is caused by many pleasant experiences, including eating nice food. Now watch closely. Having sex. It says winning a game and earning money. Now, why is this important? Okay. Because when you actually look at pornography, you get an unhealthy amount of dopamine that's released. Okay? You get an artificial amount of dopamine released from pretty much an artificial act. Okay? Because when you're dealing with pornography, it's artificial. It's not real. Okay? You're really not the one engaging in that. Okay? Even if you, and it's even worse, we're all adults here, but it's even worse if you add masturbation in it. Okay? That's even more dopamine being released. You release this unhealthy amount of dopamine. Okay? Which is really where you get the term, this person, you got a high. You got high. Okay, you released a high amount of dopamine. Okay, but the problem is once you come down off of that high, because at that point when you have that high, you feel very, very good and satisfied at the moment. But when you come down off of that high, your dopamine level actually drops below the normal level. Okay, and that puts you in this gray area, okay, of feeling depressed, which we're about to get into once we go further into this article. Okay, but that's the caveat. Okay, this is how pornography harms you from a scientific perspective. Okay, but anyway, let's continue with this article. So scrolling up a bit more. And the article continues. It says, alcohol and many illegal drugs cause a surge of dopamine too, which is partly why people get addicted to them. And let's add pornography in there because it does the exact same thing. You get a surge of dopamine, but what the article didn't say is it's really an unhealthy amount, okay, more than normal amount of dopamine that's released when you engage in pornography. And that's what causes people to get addicted. Because once you come down off of that high, your dopamine level actually drops below normal. And then you actually crave to have that feeling of that high again. That's where the addiction comes in. So what do? You want to watch pornography again. And then at times, like the other article from End Time Headline says, in order to get that high, you have to look at more extreme forms of pornography just to get that high again. Because that dopamine level drops so low. Okay? That's how pornography scientifically harms you. Okay? But, moving on with the article, it ends by saying dopamine also has a role to play in controlling memory, mood. Pause right there. That's why I said oftentimes people, when they engage in that, after they done, they feel horrible after it. Okay, they feel this feeling of depression, this gray area. Okay, because that dopamine level drops below normal. Remember, dopamine is the feel-good chemical. Okay, so let me start over. It says dopamine also has a role to play in controlling memory. Okay, so if you have a low amount of dopamine, it actually affects your memory. Okay, mood, sleep, learning, concentration, and body movement. And when you look at all of these things, or most of these things that dopamine affects, now, especially if you're a brother in this walk, as a man of the Lord, an aspiring teacher, these things are crucial. Okay, these things are crucial. Controlling your memory, your mood, sleep, learning, concentration, okay, even body movement. Okay, that's why, pornography is detrimental in more ways than one. Okay, but anyway, I believe this is a good place to end the video. And again, the title of this video is The Pornography Problem, the Taboo Topic. Okay. And, like I said in the beginning of this video, I feel like this is a topic that's not talked about enough within the Hebrew Israelite community. Okay. And I just wanted to tackle this topic, as best I can. It's still a lot more that could have been said, but, this is a good starting place. Okay. And yes, pornography is harmful in more ways than one, and chiefly because it goes against Torah. Okay. And if any brother or sister is, dealing with this, again, this is one of those things that Yahweh Shah said, it's going to take much fasting and prayer to overcome. But it can be overcome through the spirit and power of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shah. Okay? So, with that, and as always, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High Yahweh, which is the name of the Heavenly Father. And I do so by Hashem, which means in the name of Yahweh Shai, which is the name of the only begotten Son of the Heavenly Father, whom the world knows as Jesus Christ. And I want to thank all you brothers and sisters for tuning in. I hope this video was informative and edifying. And until next time, Shalom, family.